Well, greetings and welcome to this episode of Geeks First. As kind of aforementioned before we began recording here, I actually don't know what episode number this is, so I'll try to figure that out in the meantime. But today we have a guest with us, Ben. Ben, do you want to go ahead and introduce yourself? I'm glad to have you here, so I'm thankful that you wanted to join, and let's get somebody acquainted with you. So, Ben, floor is yours.
Yeah, well, thanks for having me on, Jacob. So I live in Indianapolis, and play Flesh and Blood. Our local card stores, Grandmaster Games. Been playing the game really since like around Everfest. Came over from Magic. I've been a lifetime TCG player. I've been playing card games since I could read. So I started out playing Pokemon and played Yu-Gi-Oh and Magic the Gathering and just fell in love with Flesh and Blood in the entire game.
Sweet. Now, I guess my next question is with Flesh and Blood, a lot of people have a lot of different ways that they kind of consume the game. What way? I know we play at the Armory event most of the time, is as most of our interactions in the, I guess, community here. But what way do you typically consume most of Flesh and Blood?
Yeah, I would really consider myself like a casual competitive player. Like I don't really have the time to go like grind tournaments and go to callings and battle hardens and things like that. Like if they're local and close enough and I have time, like sure, absolutely, I love going to those and hanging out and playing cards. But I've got two little kids that are 3 and 5, so they keep me super busy. And I feel like there's just probably a lot of us in the community right now that just they don't have that kind of time, right? Like I would say the majority of us are just those like armory, those people that show up to the armory every week and just enjoy hanging out with their friends and just hanging out playing games together.
Excellent. Now, I do want to touch on something interesting because I guess the last video I had, I don't want to say was full negativity, but I noticed that we had some folks out there that didn't seem to enjoy that and unsubscribed. So for those, thank you for sticking around. But the reason I kind of make that joke is for every yin there's a yang, and I wanted to maybe focus a little bit more on let's call it the community that we have that I've even bared witness to here in Indianapolis, and it's intriguing because I kind of wanted to maybe even get somebody's outside opinion of this. So when you kind of look at the community of it, I will pick on Grandmaster Games as the kind of core of where I'm going to focus this at, but each week that we're there, do you want to describe maybe the types of players that we have and the metas that we're kind of I kind of we can keep kind of branching into each of these things, but just maybe set the stage for as we continue these conversations where the frame of reference is for people to look at our conversation in regards to the local scene that we're speaking to.
Yeah, I love our shop. I mean, I would consider us like really just super inviting. Like it's just got a really good inviting atmosphere. Everybody is just super easy to get along with. Any new players that come have all like enjoyed themselves picking up and playing the game. Like what I was saying. Like I'm a casual competitive player. Like I've got access to all the cards that all the pros would have. Right, like all my decks are completely built out for any of the heroes I play. So we're all playing with like the top tier, cards that we have in our decks. But we're super welcome to just like lending our decks to new players, letting them try out new heroes, and just like play testing with them. Like it's super laid back. We're just sitting there trying to have a good time. Like we're not trying to just being it's not overly competitive or anything like that. It's just a good like atmosphere for a shop.
Well, that's good. I do want to clarify something since my face is not on video and we're doing this with just background images here. When we refer to our shop or the shop, it's not a shop I own, by the way, or that Ben owns. It's just the game store that we go to. So I do want
Yeah.
to clarify that just in case somebody is a little confused. I am not the owner of that store. I am not affiliated or associated other than I go to that specific store to play. There are other stores here in our area that do support Flesh and Blood, but I haven't been back to some of those in a little bit. One or two of them I think happen on the weekends, which is a little bit hard for me to get to, and the other two or three that I could reference are actually probably every bit of 45 minutes to an hour away because they are on just the opposite side of town, which for those of you
Yeah,
that don't know Indianapolis, it's a giant circle, and that might seem convenient to get around, but there's always this construction going on, and like it
always.
it used to be 30 minutes and now it's closer to I couldn't even try to get to the north side in less than 45 minutes to an hour, and that's really in good traffic. So like
Yeah.
uh
No, I definitely feel you there. Like we're really, I'd say we're probably the only Flesh and Blood shop on the South Side. And like when I started out, like just playing and trying to like grow a community on the South Side, it was just like myself and like two other guys, and then we've been just like slowly trying to grow a community. I think ever since like really, I would say like Bright Lights, or even before Bright Lights started, just like slowly growing, picking up a player here, player there, and getting more and more people interested and just like supporting the shop. And it's just been awesome to see it grow. And now we're having armories where we're getting consistently like 8+ people on just during the week, which I think is awesome. And so we've got like a steady, nice crowd now, and the game just seems to be growing really well. And I think our shop owner there, he is really supporting the game, which is really positive.
oh yeah. And I would say that even one step further than that is, kind of like you hit on earlier, it's nice to have a group of people that, I guess I would lump myself in with the more casual have fun than maybe the competitive casual, but I do enjoy playing, I guess I'd call it fun jank, or in the case of the last, I'd say probably at least 4 Armory weekends or maybe 5 weeks. I've played exclusively Armory decks with no tweaking. So trying to explore how those Armory decks feel into a variety of decks. We have players of, I will just casually say, all skill sets from
Yep.
lower ranking on the scale. And again, I took some photos, but again, I'm not going to give names here. But we have players that are ranked with 90-day experiences as follows. We have a 90-day XP of 3. We had somebody who had a 90-day XP of 48. We had somebody who had a 90-day XP of 33. We had somebody who had a 90-day XP of 70, and I forget where I was in there, but essentially of that, right? We have that spans a range of, and some of these have lifetime XPs. Like this one's a little over 1,000. Lifetime XP was 75 on this person. Lifetime XP on this person was 400 and something, and lifetime XP on this person was actually 3. That's fantastic. Does that mean that they literally only had 3? I didn't recognize that at first. So wow, congratulations to that person. But we truly have, from, I will call it like very fresh flesh and blood, like
Oh,
ready to learn, to somebody who's not, I mean, we don't have, Michael Hamilton used to come, not probably to this store, but at least in the general area. I remember at least running into him in the past. So I mean, we had everybody from world champions in our local area all the way down to, brand new people. So
yeah. Yeah, we definitely have. I think we've picked up like at least four like new faces, I would say, since like around Rosetta the Hunted. Like the Hunted was just an incredible set. Like the feel of the game, like the feel of the cards, the feel of like Volcor and the grittiness of it, like that to me is like Flesh and Blood. It's one of my favorite sets. And I think we picked up at least like 4 or 5 new people that were just super interested. Like, what is this game? Like, like, can you show me how to play? And like, absolutely. Let's sit down and like go over all the classes and see what kind of characters you'd like or kind of play styles you like. And yeah, we've got some people hooked on it. It's great.
nice. Yeah. So another thing that I kind of wanted to touch on is I mentioned the Armory decks. What, from your perspective, we're on, I mean, there's several. I mean, it's going to pull up February, but, from the original one, which is KO, which actually that LGS has some on the shelves, which is fantastic in its own regard. But just looking at, I guess the Armory decks holistically, do you want to maybe, if we go through those from like, I guess the start to now, is that
Yeah.
something you're okay with? Like, just kind of maybe giving your opinion on each one and maybe pros and cons as they've kind of learned from each one.
Yeah, let's do it. That sounds great.
Sure. So the initial one that if I and by the way I'm just on Fabry here, so I just went to the I think it's called set information. I can pop this link over to you in a Discord I am, but um, that's the page I'm referencing if you're curious. And
Okay.
looking at this, the very first one was only honestly I thought it was a lot longer than this. I guess technically we'll go back even older. Let's talk about Classic Battles, Rhinar and Dorinthia, which was from May of 2022. Was that a product that was that around when you started?
Oh gosh, glistening steel blade. Yeah, that was as a
So
Dory player. Oh my gosh.
so what did you think about that product? Just holistically, from everything from I guess I would refer to as packaging, shelf presence, contents of deck, new player accessibility, any of those kind of components, or just any thoughts in general on what that product was when it first came out, because that technically was like their first foray outside of Blitz
Yeah,
decks.
I definitely thought it was a good upgrade from the Blitz decks. Being able to like buy something and like split it with a friend, so you could sit down, try to figure out the game together. Like balance wise, I think the decks were fine. Like just playing them like straight out of the box and sleeving them up and playing with them. I think the value for the decks also were pretty good. I'd have to say like for me like as a Dory player, trying to get my hands on the glistening steel blades was kind of a little frustrating at the beginning because I know those were, gosh, if I remember right, those were going for like I think 35 plus or so. So it was hard to get your hands on them and just like and I think there was only like two. If I remember, I think there's only two copies of that card in the deck, or
There
maybe
there
even.
definitely were, yeah.
So you had to buy at least two of them to get a full play set. So that was a little frustrating. But since then, all the new Armory decks that have come out, you get full play sets of all the cards. So I think I think they definitely were listening and heard the community of like, I shouldn't have to buy like two or three of these to get full sets of the stuff I need from them.
Just some historical pricing on it. It looks like about a year ago it was $21. It dropped all the way down to the low of about 15, went up to about 30, and it's settling around 18, 15 to 18 right now for glistening steelblade if you're curious.
Okay, yeah, yeah. That card's amazing, and it's really good in yeah, in Quicksilver Prodigy. Dorinthia Quicksilver. She's really good at Blitz. I love playing that deck.
So from the perspective of where they included a book with it, but it was like a lore book and a paper mat, like what were your thoughts on those inclusions versus like, for lack of a better word, maybe a new player guide or things like that. Just from again, I've had my opinions on different videos in the past. I won't rehash those too terribly deeply, but like, what do you think of those kind of contents? Because the groundwork for that didn't necessarily translate into the next product, which was the KO Armory deck, which was the first version of the classic constructed specific decks, which we'll talk on here just a second.
Yeah, it was like I think that having like some sort of rule book in it is nice for people just to like have on hand and as a reference. Like we can obviously we could all just like scan a QR code and it take us to take it to their website and have like a tutorial on how to play or something like that. But yeah, it's just nice to have like a rule book that you can kind of like flip through and like a quick reference guide of like here's the steps and phases of a turn. Just like some quick notes or like like useful frequently like some FAQs or something. But yeah, and the play and the playmat was a little cheesy, and I was always shocked that like they never put in like a dice or something for like your life counter. It'd be nice to have like a a commander had for Magic. They had like those commander spin downs,
Oh yeah, yeah, and they were
and
like
it's 40.
sometimes jumbo size too.
Yeah, I still I use that for Fab. Every time I play, it's just so easy to take that thing out and just like use that spin down counter. So I always thought like they should do like a 40 life spin down like that, or just like I know that there's other guys in the community that like make the Fab metal tokens and stuff, and I love those. It'd be nice to like I know that they're starting they're collaborating with them to do those cool tokens for like your your big callings, your pro tours, and your the Osaka one was like amazing. I picked that one up myself, but like having like just like working with them to like put those kinds of tokens in like your armory deck, or into those kinds of products, I think would be like especially the resource counter, or like your plus one, plus two power, or your armor, your armor tokens, like just the basic ones like that, so you can keep track of some things in the game. I think would be a good value add for products like that.
I mean, I would not disagree with any of that sentiment. So, kind of going into what we got, which was the KO Armory deck, is the very first stop here on our journey of kind of things we can discuss. When that came out, picking KO, one of the first four hero. No, not I lied. KO wouldn't be one of the first four heroes. I'm thinking of Rhinar. See, that's how little I play Brute. uh, what do you think of selecting him? In May in 2024, right? This technically was, I guess, after Heavy Hitters. So KO would have been, I guess, already released as a hero in
Yep.
Heavy Hitters. So that being the first hero, do you think that was in your opinion, the first correct hero, or could they have picked somebody more, I guess, different, like let's say Katsu or a Dory, or even a Rhinar? Because right, we had Dory versus Rhinar. Or do you think that was a good call to start with something like that? Like, what's your just general thoughts on that?
I think that was a good call for the time. As Heavy Hitters was coming out, I think it's nice to have that like other kind of product on the shelf where you can say, oh yeah, like okay, so if I buy this KO deck, and then I can go buy some Heavy Hitters packs to try to upgrade my deck. I think it was the right choice for them to make. At least putting out KOs like their first debut product for that.
Because of the relationship to Heavy Hitters and how that was a hero in Heavy Hitters, basically.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
and you could segue that right into like buying packs and just upgrading as you go.
I mean, that sounds like a very logical and reasonable explanation to that path. So yeah, I mean, I liked it. I think that it did set some tonality to how, I guess for lack of a better word, how some of the next decks kind of came around. Maybe, but the next one they jumped to was Bolton. So kind of circling back a little bit to the KO piece. One of the things they introduced with the Armory decks, if those that are listening are not aware, there were unique cards to the decks. What were your
Yeah,
thoughts about including cards that were not part of Heavy Hitters, and maybe the mechanism for injecting cards into both Classic Constructed, Blitz, UPF, any of those formats, but using it from kind of like they got rid of supplemental sets at this point, but like
yeah.
using that as another mechanism. This is pre Gym Pack too. I don't think Gym Packs were out at this point. So like, what do you think of that concept, or how that kind of maybe led into some decisions from where we're at?
I liked it. I think it's definitely a draw to like both. It's a draw for both new players and existing players to want to try to pick that up to get those new cards and build out their decks more. Like Savage Sash is such an incredible card for Brute. You got Run Roughshod. Those are incredible for KO, and it was just like I think that first KO deck was probably like one of the top two, top three like armory decks, like power wise, and like just built like just like all around cohesive and built out and thought out. I really like that KO deck, and I like that they had some that like new and exclusive cards in it. Just from like LSS's standpoint of just trying to sell product, but also just like if you're a new player, existing player, you could pick that thing up, get new cards for your deck. And yeah, definitely a way to like inject or an upgrade, and fill out the class for a hero that might be needing some new cards, or even like um, I think that's just a good way to introduce new cards back into the ecosystem of the game.
That definitely is of my opinion as well. I mean, kind of as I alluded to here, now we're looking at shortly thereafter, Bolton came out, and
Yeah,
I definitely was not. I don't want to say a fan of oh, what's the right word to say, of the whole Monarch series. I liked Monarch, but it was not the class for me. And Bolton being, basically something that I did not know how to play. I picked up the deck because I'd still want to buy one of everything, but like
Yeah.
I still really do not have the understanding to play Bolton correctly. Do you know much about Bolton, and what's your thoughts on that being the second deck? Because again, it's kind of a really interesting direction shift from, you know, I guess a melee, you know, I don't want to say Oonga Boonga Brute, but like it's a very
Right.
different feel to that class.
Yeah, and Light Warrior is definitely a very different feel from like even just your classic Warrior deck. When I think about Warrior as a Warrior player, I think like strictly about like weapon based, a weapon based hero like Dory. She's primarily going to be using her weapons to attack you with, and Bolton, he's using attack action cards, which is like wildly different from all like most of the other warriors. Like if you think about Kasai, she's hitting you with her Centauri sabers. She might have some CNCs or other kinds of tech in her deck of attack action cards, but for the most part, a lot of those warrior players, you're using your weapon as your primary means to deal damage. So it's definitely very like Bolton is definitely a different warrior, and just with that deck alone, that I thought that deck, like if you were a Bolton player, you absolutely would want to pick that up. There's a ton of good cards in that deck. From all the new equipment that it put out. I think also when we go from KO to Bolton, I think that is the first time where they started giving a full equipment suite of new cards, if I remember right.
It
A full set of 4 for a hero.
Yeah. Now, if you pull up on Fabry.net/sets and you right click on the link for where it says the name of the deck, it'll actually open the deck list in Fabry. So, like with KO, you had Beaten Trackers, Hide Tanner, Knucklehead, and Mandible Claw, which was interesting. Oh, and Savage Sash, which only 2 of those were Majestic. So, and you did mention the other cards that were kind of, run roughshod, which was kind of a limited or a card that was not available elsewhere. Then when you get into Bolton here, one of the things I wanted to call out was technically I kind of made a comment on the other podcast the other day that I screwed up. I didn't think they reprinted Sink Below, but I forgot that they put it in the Bolton deck.
Yeah, they did.
So, looking at that, honestly, I'm quite shocked to think that it was a in the Dromai deck, which was they had a defense symbol in the background. That was kind of a fun little change, but then they
Yeah.
had it in it's called ASB, which I'm assuming I don't know what that one was. I know it's in History Pack. Maybe ASB is the version that is
In Bolton.
in Bolton. I got to look at the acronym now for what the card label is at the bottom of it. ASB, it is. So that is the one. So that's the last time they were printed. And the reason I'm calling that out now is because I am curious if they're going to actually put Sink Below inside of High Seas. Thematically, I think it could work.
I think it'd be cool if they gave it some new artwork too. Like if they give it some new pirate artwork, because you think like Sink Below, like there's a lot of like that pirate kind of connotation too, where they could take a new artwork direction and do something really neat with that.
Yeah, and actually one other call out too is they actually rarity increase Sink Below in the Bolton deck from a common to a rare,
Yep,
which even in
that's
the
probably
Dromai deck it was still a common, and in History Pack 1 it was a common. So that was also kind of interesting.
interesting. It's good. I think it's definitely worthy of being a rare. So, but yeah, in a deck like that, it's like when the rarities almost don't matter if it's coming out of a stock deck like that, right? Because you're getting the same cards no matter
Yeah,
what. But
yeah, and when we go to Jarl, I want to talk about that because technically the legendary, even though it is a legendary,
yeah,
it's not really it's still a one. And I have some thoughts on that, but anyways, that's just it's funny you say that, but
right.
yes, it is very true. Anything else on
Like,
Bolton?
no, I thought it was a very odd choice that they picked Bolton. I thought that maybe there's some other heroes that could have maybe had a little bit more love there, but yeah, Bolton needed a little bit of something too. So I think that was just probably just whatever design choice that they went with at the time, and we're like, yeah, let's throw Bolton some love, and we haven't really touched Light Warrior or anything like that for a while. So yeah, I
Well,
think that was a decision they made.
and all the equipment and weapons go with it are actually light warriors, so they can't be used in warrior, which was something I was kind of surprised about. As they did lock it down to his hero type. So there's that.
Yeah, and at least like if there's another Light Warrior in the future, if we get a Light Dory in the next in the next Monarch trilogy,
Oh yeah,
like a lot
yeah,
of those cards just go straight over to whatever next Light Warrior that comes out.
yeah, yeah. That'd be cool too. Um, Next up was at Gen Con. They released Azalea. That was in August of
Yeah.
24. I specifically remember that. And one cool thing about this was they had the Hidden Agenda, which had an alternate art version
Oh,
or two variations of that card.
yeah, there's like this weird purple like version of that card where the ink was like slightly was off. So some people held that one in a higher regard than the other one, and it's definitely more valuable. I guess it's just kind of like a weird print error.
Yeah, I don't know if I thought maybe it was confirmed it was two different printings because there is two different TCG options for it, but I remember pulling one and saying to myself, "Oh, did I get the right one?" I swore I thought I got the special one, and then come to find out, I did not. But like the regular one's $2. The alternate art apparently is $50, I guess. But it is the same card. It's an art variation of it. So I like that they were kind of playing with that concept. Like in a weird way, I feel like this was kind of like one of their test examples to be like, what would people do if there are hidden interesting things? And on top of that, like what would they do if you reprinted something but with the same card but had two different artworks?
Yeah, same. Yeah, like same card, two different artworks, or just in the decks, or like we were talking about Sink Below, and reskinning it as like a pirate themed card. I think that's really interesting. I think the Armory decks would be a great place for that. I was always just like, super like I don't know, just my OCD about like on being on theme for cards. I love this game because like when you're playing Hero, like you feel like your cards are very on theme, like artwork wise for your deck. And
Sure.
so like whenever I was Blade Runner, in any of my warrior decks, it felt so more mechanologist than it felt warrior. So I was always hoping that they would make like a new armory deck or reprint Blade Runner, but give it like some different artwork for, maybe like Kasai or someone like that.
That makes sense. Yeah. I mean, on theme truly is, I guess, in my opinion, the game in general is pretty much on point with almost everything. I mean, obviously the latest
Yeah.
High Seas has some haha gotcha kind of names in it, and I've heard the
Right.
community have both positive and not positive ish reviews on those, and I'm kind of middle of the road with that one. But
Yeah. Yeah. I'm more of like I love like like feeling immersed in the world that I'm playing, like in this card game. So like when I'm playing my deck, or that's what I love about it. Like when I build Syndra, or I build Fi or Katsu, or any of the warriors and assassins I play, like I really do feel like I'm getting into like the kind of the play style of that character, and you feel the artwork, and the gameplay of it. I really like that like kind of immersion. And then when I was like playing Magic back in the day, I just got super disenfranchised with it because all these different art styles, and I felt like there was just no cohesiveness. Like the game was like losing its identity. Like for me, like it just didn't feel like Magic anymore. With all the universes beyonds and things like that, that just wasn't for me. So like when you have Flesh and Blood, like I know I'm in the world of Wrath, and I'm going up against a Victor or Arachne. Like I feel that player when I'm playing against them.
that makes perfect sense. Um, with the Azalea deck to kind of book in maybe that, what's your thoughts on the Azalea build overall? Was Ranger one of the classes you'd played with? I know Azalea being an OG hero, it was nice to
Yep.
see that they gave one to an armory deck to one of the first 8 heroes. So
Yeah, I was at Gen Con, and that was one of the first things I bought when I was there was the Azalea deck, because she's one of my favorite heroes in the game. I built her out Like when Outsiders came out, I was like, oh man, I can finally like build out Azalea and have like a real competitive deck with her. So it was really neat. I think the power level of the deck was definitely very like very strong, and you could really like unbox that thing and pump up arrows and do what she does and just deal massive damage with meaningful on hits. You had Red in the Ledgers in there, which were just an awesome like reprint for that deck, and then but there's also like a bunch of other new stuff that like was trying to go into the different archetype of aim counters. So that was really neat of them trying to see like, hey, how can we insert aim and what kind of new cards or like a new play style can we kind of explore with this armory deck. I still think aim needs to be kind of more fleshed out a bit in the game to kind of have legs, but there's just always different builds, and I really like the decks and the power level of it for a beginning player.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, something else I think we kind of talked offline about, at least when we were in the parking lot there, because that was one of the other fun things about locals, by the way, is we can hang out and talk in the parking lot. It brings you back to my high school days, just hanging out with people, just
Yes.
talking, shooting shit in the parking lot. But like there was some conversation around mechanics that kind of get introduced, but then maybe get, I don't want to say left behind. I mean that is technically the word that was used, but I don't know
Yeah.
enough to really be an expert to talk about it, but I am aware that there are definitely, like, aim is one. There are other abilities that have been kind of put in, universals, and other that comes to mind that so far hasn't been reintroduced. You'd mentioned maybe Mark might be a good example of one that might get left in the hunted specifically, but we may or may not see it in the future. What you talk? Do
Contract.
you want to talk a little bit about those, mechanics, and what your thoughts are on maybe why some of those may be set specific, or why some of those may not translate in your opinion, or just kind of your thoughts in general on that?
Yeah, like just from playing over the years and seeing kind of the patterns and getting into the thought process and design, getting in that headspace of LSS. That's what I love doing. Like just talking with you guys, just like thinking about like where's their headspace at? Like how are they coming up with some of these designs? And it just over the years, like even starting out with Everfest, I know we've talked a lot about that, just like okay, Everfest comes out and there are these like supposed to be these really cool trinkets, and there's potions and talismans, and supposedly we were going to be getting an alchemist class so we could use all those. And there's a lot of people like yourself and myself at that time. I was trying to collect all those potions and things, and we just never got an alchemist. And I felt like LSS has like a they kind of like have this as a thing that they do that I don't like, where they just kind of abandon an idea like that. Kind of like they start something and then they don't finish it. Like especially with contract too, like with Assassin, I felt like contract was probably abandoned. I would say for the most part, with and either abandoned or replaced by stealth. I really like stealth as an assassin um, mechanic, but contract I think is just kind of fallen to the wayside. When we had the hunted, we had some contract cards, but they were draft specific for racketing. Like you got a contract to hit, Sindra or Fang. So, but there's nothing else other than that. And for the other kind of like Arachne support, it just stealth or I think that that's kind of where they just kind of was moved away from contract, went back to stealth, and maybe they revisit it in the future. But I feel like that's kind of like what they kind of do is they design sideways more than going upwards, which like for a mechanic like Mark in the Hunted, I just don't like. I think that's a really like specific theme to that set for that storyline. If they ever come back to Mark, I think it's going to be a while. So, and that's kind of like, it kind of makes you hesitant to like buy into stuff. Like for me, it kind of makes me a little hesitant to buy into stuff like that sometimes. Like,
They're
I was talking
flavorful
to,
though. I think I like them for the
yeah,
flavor component,
oh,
um, personally at
yeah,
least. So
Dude, I thought that the mark mechanic was awesome and super flavorful for the set. Just like, we're going on the hunt and you're going to, track down Arachne, or if you're Arachne, you're trying to hunt down the royals. So I thought it was super, super like into like for that set, it was very flavorful. And I hope they go back to it. I hope they kind of like expand on it more for assassins and ninja and warrior in the future. Um,
I could see it being
yeah,
multi-class usable. I absolutely could.
yeah, yeah.
So
I think
jumping
it's
to the
going to be a
next.
setup.
Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, I think just talking about like Volcor and that set. I think they're probably setting up kind of like that third arc for Volcor, and because we still have a conflict that is still unresolved between like Phi and Dromai, and then Kasai is now coming into Volcor with her army. And now that we now have Draconic Warrior with Fang, I think they're setting up Kasai in the future to be a Draconic Warrior for
Ooh,
maybe a third of that series.
that'd be interesting. Yeah, yeah. I don't know.
I
I
would love.
see that's a whole nother episode. Starting to try to dive into some of the lore, which you're more than welcome to jump in. I've been talking to Alex about that. We want to start deep diving back into some of the lore components, and I think that's some of the juicy bits that it's always nice to have the discussions on how you interpret things within the ecosystem of the game, because while there is written components that you can clearly say they have said this, there's a lot of times things open for interpretation.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So the next deck, which really excited me and kind of, I don't want to say I've been stuck playing that hero since it's done this, but October of 24 dash, not dash
Yeah.
IE, but dash IO, which was the reprint from Bright Lights, which would have, been, I guess, just a little bit before that, I guess, right? Well, Bright Lights would have been a year before that. But that deck, I really enjoyed that they kind of released that. It leveled up that character. I know I kind of said in the other version that I didn't think it really did much, but upon reflecting of that, it changed the hero's identity and honestly the class identity by having access to some of these cards, which
Yeah.
I'll speak a little bit more on when we get to Max in a little bit. But what's your thoughts on the Dash deck?
Oh man. Yeah. Along with KO, like I think that Dash and KO are probably those like top armory decks that they've built so far. Like that Dash deck is really strong. Like right out of the box. Like with those Cerebellum processors, like those that card is crazy. And there's just like you could just do well with that deck out of the box and
Oh, and
go
and
to
I
town.
I can agree with that. I have done decent at armories with just that deck. Let me tell you, it's a blast even to a fully tuned legendary opponent. Like,
Yep. Yeah, I think that's probably one of their strongest decks that they've built, and just like the new cards that they put in, even just like the equipment that she got, like a lot of those equipment were really strong. And then Cerebellum processor. I can't remember the name of the other one, but I'm sure
the
being a
Fast
mech
and
player.
Furious.
Yeah, there's Fast and Furious.
Yeah, yeah. That's the one where if
Yeah,
you it's zero, it's a red pitch zero, three attack, three block boost. If you've cranked, it gets +1. And when it's
yep,
if this is banished from boosting, put a steam counter on item you control with crank, which frankly fits right in line with Max, which we'll talk about later. So like I feel like they might have had some design thoughtfulness beforehand with other cards, thinking they'll be used in the future. So
yeah, I like that. I think that's nice to kind of have those like kind of cross compatibility with like not just the deck that they put it in, but for other heroes too.
I really want, by the way, I'm going to say this when we talk about Jarl. I want a all generic armory deck that has like a generic hero or something that would allow me to get like a new generic weapon so that
Yeah,
it
yeah,
can give some flexibility to fab in the regard that I understand that's a huge design constraint. But one of the things I've been desperately wishing for, which may or may not ever come to fruition, is I want to not know that if you're playing Max, you're going to use this weapon. If you're playing Dash, you're going to use this weapon. If you're using Yarrow, you're going to use one of two weapons. Like, I want there to be that unknown of wow, he might be coming in with a saber, or he might be coming in with the pistol, or he might be coming in with a cutlass or whatever, like a rock, right? Something stupid, um, and have those be generic options that don't change the game dramatically, but then also I don't. Maybe it's not possible. I don't know, but I've always wanted that. What are your thoughts on just before I dive into Jarl? What generic weapons or anything, is that something you think you'll ever see in the game other than Talishar, which I know is currently it?
I think we definitely need another like generic weapon of some kind. I don't know, like design wise, like what they would make to have it balanced, or you know, give it certain characters access to a new kind of weapon like that. But yeah, something where it's like even just like I don't know, like Edge of Autumn, is to me like a very basic weapon where it's just like pay one, go again. It's two handed. It's not doing a whole lot. It's just a one for one. Let's go again. I think even something like that, as simple as that, is just like a sword or a dagger, or and maybe even make them like a series. Maybe like you have like a sword, or like you have like a hand, like maybe like a club or a lance, or I don't know, something that you could make that you could go through different multiple heroes and not break their class, or break the hero from doing it. Maybe like the cost is a little prohibitive, but Talshar breaking, that's like I know it's a 2 for 4, which is really good, and um, but maybe like just some other kind of option like that that's maybe like a little less power and maybe a little more accessible.
I always thought of something like, I'm going to use the word modal. So, like, if you had, I'm just going to use a cutlass or a saber as an example. It might say it's a one resource for one attack, once per turn with no go again as the base. But then in the subtext, it says if your hero, like in the text box, if your hero is a warrior, pay one resource against go again. If your hero is a mechanologist, crank this, or put a pay one, put a steam counter on this, crank it to gain go again. Like they could almost make it to where specific abilities work with specific heroes, even if it's generic, but then lock it down to make sure it doesn't fundamentally break another hero in
Yeah,
my head, right? I don't know how, like I said, I don't know how hard that'd be to do, but I've known old Magic cards that do something similar to that, where you have like multimodal things that depend on other aspects to work. So
yeah, that'd be neat. Or like if like yeah, you could constrain it in some way. I think that would be awesome. Have something where it's or like maybe just like a series of different generic ones at different costs and power levels. And I think like maybe just kind of thinking about heroes that would need something like that. Like gosh, one maybe like a hero that kind of comes to mind. I don't know if I have one off the top of my head that I would think of. Just like this hero could definitely use like a maybe like or maybe it's just like even sideboard tech against kind of like really polarizing classes or matchups to kind of have a little bit more parity into that matchup that gives them like kind of like evens the playing field maybe a little bit for them. But maybe they just print it as they just create something that's class specific. So I don't know.
yeah, just food for thought. Next up, we have Jarl. Jarl. I still don't know how do you pronounce his deck name.
I think I don't know. I think I always say Jarl. I think that's how we've all said it. So that's kind of what stuck around.
So this is the first version of the decks where I think they kind of reached their hand into the lore hat and they drew a name out and they said, okay, this person is the person who had the thing on the Mangle card, and he became a character that you can play, which honestly blew my mind, because for a lot of reasons you can now say that, oh my god, anything that shows on any card might be a hero in the future, which just is mind-blowing to think of in general, right? Like, but this being a
Yep.
Legends deck, I think is the terminology. What do they call this? It's
Yeah.
Armory Origins. Sorry, Origins deck. Um, what do you think of this? I mean, it's the first one that has legendary in it, and this kind of gets back to that joke about it's just as rare as anything else because it comes in a singular package. So even though it's legendary, it's technically
Yeah.
not a majestic, but it's as rare as the other pieces of armor, including technically the
This is
steel braid buckler.
yeah, it's like, is it really legendary though? It's like they could just put an M on it and it would have been the same, right? Yeah, but yeah, I thought that was funny too. The Boreal Gauntlets being a legendary, I was like, that's cool at least. And I think that deck was like, I think the Armory Origins like opens up this just whole new like, man, just the whole a whole new opportunity and landscape for introducing new heroes, or let's say I don't know, like let's say like a bunch of heroes LL from a class like Runeblade or something. Like so, let's say Viserai's gone now, and let's say Aurora's on her way out the door, and the only Runeblade that we might have access to is Vincent, and so LSS says, okay, well, we don't have any Runeblades right now. I think it'd be good to, and we don't have any Runeblade sets coming up in the near future. Maybe we make like an Armory deck Origins and fill in like that space for for a hero, so people can have access to multiple options. I think that's kind of cool, at least for that, where they could just inject a new hero into the game.
I am ecstatic that they even did it. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know any other way to say it, but what are your thoughts on the deck contents and how I guess it would maybe I use the word perform. I haven't seen anybody in our local meta play this, but I think I heard somebody brought it in, and I might have missed that session.
Yeah, I thought like out of the box, I didn't think it was like I really didn't think that one was that good out of the box. To be completely honest, I don't think it like leaned heavily enough into the ice theme, and I so there's like some things that I think you like absolutely have to have for Jarl to make it tick, and like I don't know if they would like wanted to reprint Channel Lake Frigid in that, but I think that was like more of a center card for Jarl of just being to ice people out, slow them down. I think there's Arctic incarcerations in it. Um, I think all the new cards like just like Unforgiving, Unforgetting, all the new cards that he got inside of that deck were very strong. Um, so I like those Majestics were great. I think the other part of the deck was just lacking though. So the equipment suite was great. I thought all the equipment were really amazing right out of the box. Like if this was like your first hero and you're getting into the game and you've got a hero with a really nice equipment suite for your Jarl deck. So I did like that.
Cool, cool. Um, I enjoyed Summit, even though I know people seem to not enjoy that weapon. It's just flavorful. Like it's 6 to attack. It's just unwieldy, but
It's
it's just
yeah.
cool.
I
It's
thought it
just neat.
was flavorful too. Yeah, I thought it was really flavorful where it's just like if you've got your summit and if you've got Bastion of Eisenloft, or I guess like with this one you get like your Steelblade Buckler. So like once that breaks, now your one-handed weapon is now like your two-handed weapon. So now it gets the buff. And so it's like, oh yeah, then just kind of goes back to that whole like immersion feel for me, and the lore and the just like the flavor of it, where it's like, oh, my shield broke. Now I can really just like pick up this pole arm with two hands and start swinging this thing around like that. I think that's really cool.
Yeah. Well, and I kind of made the joke at one point, I think even in the parking lot, where I was like, I love a shield bash style. Like I was playing a demo game of Pathfinder, and the warrior has like this action where you can like ram your shield into something and like just charge and break your shield. But in a weird way, Yarrow kind of almost fits into that mindset, but you can't do damage with the shield. So I think that the idea with that is, like you said, the shield breaks and then you can use the weapon to its fullest extent. But still pretty sweet either way. And like I said, the fact that they, now any hero is possible. It's like, whoa, that's cool.
Yeah, and everybody's been kind of like everybody wanted a new Dromai to come out, and
Yep.
um, but I think for me, like what I was saying was like I think that they're gonna put her in that third, that third story, that third installment of the Volcor, that Volcor series where she and Fi and Kasai and whoever else is in there are going to have to duke it out to who's gonna control Volcor and who's gonna become the new emperor. I think that's gonna be
Ooh,
like that story arc and having that come to a close.
that's an interesting thought.
As much as people wanted to get it back, yeah, I think she's in that design process, and we'll see her in the next Volcor set.
So starting out this year in 2025, we got Aurora, which actually was pretty late into the year technically. I mean, early for us. It was only a month ago where Aurora came out as an Armory deck, and that thing hit the ground running. Again, I'm not a huge player of this specific hero archetype, but I know that we have several folks that played Aurora in our play circle. So what do you think of this deck?
Yeah, for I think just like just marketing wise from LSS's standpoint, and I see what they did where you could have as your like progression, right? I see why they did it. I know like a lot of people would definitely say like she didn't need the cards. I would probably agree with that, but I see like the progression of you going to your store and you went to some convention and you bought the Aurora First Strike deck,
Yep.
and then you might have picked up Laura, Blitz deck or whatever, and then you got some Rosetta, and then now you've got this Aurora, Armory deck that now you've gotten into. Now you can fully play CC and then use all your Rosetta cards to upgrade it, and you're progressing. Kind of like the same thing with KO, really.
I mean, I agree. I think that was their thought process behind it. I don't know. Again, it's kind of interesting, even when we get to these next couple ones that are coming out here, right? Like, I would not have suspected some of these to be on the menu, so to speak. And with Aurora, right?
Mhm.
I do have the deck over here. I do plan on playing it at an upcoming, probably a week or two. But next week, I want to bring, probably like a funner deck that's not an armory deck, but it is interesting to see that the cards in it, the receptiveness looks like a majority of the cards were pretty good. I actually don't know the unique cards I know that the equipment suite is unique, but I don't remember if there's
Yes.
what was the unique card in this that
You got you got Call the Lightning and you got Skizik,
Skizik, that was the other one. I was
and all the Skizik, and then the blue is really incredible. It's I can't remember the name of the blue, but it's like a zero cost blue block 3, and
written in the
it makes you an
stars.
embodiment of lightning
Yeah, written in the
stars. Yeah, that
stars.
card is real really
Uh,
good. She definitely needed some more like blue block cards, and that card is like an absolute must play in that deck.
Well, and if you've
Uh,
dealt arcane
yeah,
damage, draw a card. I mean, you're a rune blade. There's a rune chancer, a flying. Like, I mean, it's at least that's my understanding. So,
yeah, and Skizik and Call the Lightning lets you basically like tutor up Skizik and gets you like you can like create a embodiment of lightning and go tutor up the Skizik, and then now Skizik could come in for 4 go again. Um, I know a lot of the players play those cards. I'm not in that kind of Aurora, deck building mindset, but those definitely were really powerful, and there's a lot of people that play that card, and I seems those seem to be like very good staples for that deck. So that whole thing, like, also, yeah, and then talking about the first strike decks, I know that in those first strike decks, there were unique cards in them that were specific to those decks, like for Terra and
Aurora.
um,
Yep.
Aurora. You got Static Shock, Reds especially, and you got Sizzles.
Mm-hmm.
And those were really good for her. So I like that they put 3 full copies of those into that deck, so you didn't have to chase down your 3 copies, because that was the only way you could have gotten those cards. So I appreciate LSS for putting those 2 cards into that armory deck, so you could right away get those and have access to them.
Well, and that was the big reason at Gen Con I bought 2 of each because originally, not only did I want to play these
Yeah.
against each other because I wanted to try the mirror match of Aurora versus Aurora and Terra versus Terra, but that would have completed the 4 set of me having those because at the time they were just not readily accessible.
Yeah, no, they weren't. And I remember being at Gen Con and I picked up Aurora and just that first strike deck just so I could play it out of the box against new players there and just like say like let's let teaching new people how to play the game. And if somebody was like, hey, I'll like what is this, like can you show me how the game works, and I could just pull out this armory deck there, or the first strike deck, and just kind of sit down and run them through turns, and like this is how it works, and attacking and blocking, and as if like, and they're really cheap too, so you could just pick one up and play with it. And
Oh yeah.
yeah, I thought that was a good like learning.
I still hope we get an adult Terra sometime because like I seem to really enjoy that
Yeah,
hero, just the generality of it. But like we haven't gotten to explore more of that, and maybe we will. I hope so. Like I kind of was hoping that he would have been in
Terra.
Rosetta, but that did not work out.
Yeah, I don't know what's gonna happen with him. Like he's and maybe he's just like a young only hero, but I definitely don't think they're done with his story. Like like in his story, he basically like towards the end of his story, he basically goes to the Channel Mount Heroic at one point during the story to like learn and find out who he is. And after he dealt with the villain of that story, who was like a wizard that had created him and basically was just using him to create a portal to like another outside of Arya to his world. So um, after he defeated him, he like goes off to Channel Mount Heroic to try to like train himself and find out who he is and try to become like basically a guardian of Rosetta and like Corsham.
Yeah, I remember reading
So I
that.
think they're
I
I think they're
don't remember all
more
the
of that.
nuances of it, but I do remember reading those two stories. I think there was one for each when they came out.
Yeah, that was a really neat story, and get to learn about like some other like areas of the world of Wrath that you just like like they don't ever really talk about.
Yeah. Well, and kind of leading into that, in the next set, I think there's tease of a new area. But before we jump into that conversation, Max was the last official deck released currently. Um, I played that
Yeah,
yesterday. You know, I have mixed thoughts on that deck. Um, what before I even say anything,
yeah,
what are your thoughts just watching my games? I'm sure.
well, me as a non-mech player, I mean, I would just say like just from like I what I will talk about from my perspective is just the availability of just getting your hands on one. Like that was kind of crazy to me that our shop, which is super active, and we fire our armories every week, and we get at least 6 to 8 players every week. Like our shop was basically told like you're not getting any, and they didn't give a real reason why other than just like you just weren't allocated any, and you're not like that was just like the end of that conversation. So it's just like from that standpoint, it's like I just don't understand what LSS was trying to do of like, are you trying to sell the deck or not, right? Like it's like what is this for? Like are you trying to really like bolster up Max? Like is why is it so exclusive? Like why can't like you as a Max player like had to drive the other side of Indianapolis to pick up a deck? Like it just didn't make any sense to me.
Oh yeah, and it gets even wilder too because like, you know, I know I specifically called a couple other stores and I'd kind of mentioned this, but they also had no idea if they were going to get it, and the only one I was able to find was, about an hour north. So I got it locally technically, but it was, in my opinion, much more complicated. So I don't understand that. I'll leave that as it is and not dive deeper into that complaint. But like, I agree. It was odd that like it wasn't something that if I was like the Yu-Gi-Oh players that were there, if I'm like, hey, this guy is freaking cool. He like there's a whole mech deck that revolves around this, and he's kind of one of the people that could key into that and look at the steam powered looking thing. Like, wouldn't that be cool? And I'm like, you should go buy this, but then where do they go get it? Like, oh, gotta go to TC Player. Sorry.
Yeah, what? Yeah, they're a TCG player where they're going to be like, marked up another, 30% or whatever that somebody's going to mark it up at. So it's like, I just like, is it the
They're
Armory
selling
decks
for about
are meant to
50
be for new?
$50 right now on TCG.
Are they?
A
That's
little
good.
bit
At least they
more.
came down.
Yeah, they were a little high for that first week.
Yes, and it's supposed to be a deck for new players. Like, why I should be able to like go into my LGS and pick up an Armory deck and try to figure out how to play the game because I know that for the longest time the Blitz decks were like supposed to be were the onboarding product, but like the community was quickly like shouting at LSS to be like, hey, like nobody wants these. They just we like as the players don't want them, the stores don't want them because they can't sell them, and you can always just take an Armory deck, a CC Armory deck, and just take out one of every copy and shave the cards down. Now you've got a Blitz deck. So
Which
like
that's what they did
I
with
hope that
Gravy
they just
Bones.
yeah they mark what did they like put like a mark on them or like a symbol on them or something.
Correct. Based on the understanding, we don't have it in person yet, but there are options on the bottom of the cards that will say CC, and I think there's a symbol that you can take them out, and if you take those out, it becomes the Blitz deck. So that was a fantastic idea. I like that. I mean, that's great.
Yeah, I think that's really good. And then I really just think they should just discontinue making Blitz decks. I and the Blitz deck collections, like I know our shops like the store's got a bunch of those just they're sitting on the shelves and they're just I don't think they're ever gonna move. And I think that's something they should discontinue, like discontinue the Blitz decks and just, make the Armory decks more available. I mean, they're at a good price point. They're $40. Like if you think about other card games like Magic, like those commander decks are like I think I went to my like my Meyer today and those were like $60 for just a just a standard just commander deck. So I think the $40 price point's great for those.
Sure. Now, I guess the other $1 million question I have is, you know, Gravy Bones is part of High Seas. If folks don't know that, but if you're probably this deep into this, you probably at least know some of that. Um, when you look at kind of the, I guess, news of that, and we're getting some Armory Deck IRAs coming. That's the next future one. We don't know too much about those. They just got announced at the kind of keynote speech here at London, and then we're also getting two, I guess, Armory decks specifically for Living Legend format. LSS went from having like 3 main set releases a year to now they're having like 3 main set releases and a lot of Armory decks. Do you and right now, because High Seas, and the reason I'm tying this into your question about the Blitz deck collections, I don't see a Blitz deck collection for High Seas, and it's within a month of coming out, so I don't think we're going to see one. So I wonder if they've already chosen to stop that, or if it's a skip a set. Because honestly, I was excited to have those just for the box component of having them look good on a shelf. But if they're not doing it going forward, it's like, man, I already bought a bunch of those, like 1, 2, 3 of each or whatever, just to like have one sealed, have one open, and it's just like, oh gosh, well, now if they're not going to keep going that forward, then I don't know. Like, I'm a little disappointed if that's the case.
Yeah, I think that's like a I think that's the decision they made was to like phase I like if I was in charge like that's what I would do. I would just phase those out and just stick to the CC decks. People love them. They sell and it's a good tool for onboarding new players. So like those are just kind of sitting on shelves. So and that's just kind of dead product for a store, and they don't want that. So yeah, I think that's what they did. I think they're just like, okay, we get it. Nobody wants this. We're gonna move on. But yeah, like you're saying, like those they do look really nice. Like the boxes are nice. The play mats in them are really cool add on. the hunted one was really cool. That was I think it was like the Hunt the Ends of Wrath. Like that playmat's amazing. So
Oh yeah, I
yeah, I think
really enjoy that playmat.
yeah, that one is really nice. So it's
And
good to
that's why
see
I
like
was
at least something like that.
yeah, and that's for high seas. That's why I was like, man, I really wonder what they're going to use for the artwork for that one. And now I won't know because I don't think maybe there's going to be a high seas playmat that you can get somewhere else. And again, I know playmats are complicated to there's logistics and stuff, so who knows? But um, I guess that wraps up most of the kind of thought processes around the Armory deck world. So where do you see things going from here? Is maybe the look forward section?
Yeah, I'm really excited for Gravy Bones and Ira, especially like as a Ira player, as a ninja player. I really like. I want that deck. I will be first in line at the shop to try to get one of those because she's one of my favorite heroes in the game. But yeah, for Gravy Bones, I just hope they have stock of them because Necromancer is going to be a really popular hero, and I think like everybody's going to want to pick one of those up and try them out, try to play with them. Like he looks like a really awesome character, and like there's going to be those unique cards in that deck that you can only get in that deck. Like she's probably going to get a full Necromancer equipment suite and probably at least three new cards. I would say maybe even more since he's a completely new class. Maybe they just put more, fill it out with some new commons or something like that, and
Yeah, I
fill
very
out
much look
the fill out
forward
the
to
more.
see how that turns out, especially given it's a whole new class. Technically two whole new classes in one Armory deck.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah. So if they, I think we'll get some more like generic necromancer cards in it, and um, just very high, even high seas in general. And the necromancer class, it's just really interesting to see like how they're going to try to build out this class and what kind of generic cards or not generic cards, but class base class necromancer stuff that we get for them, either just like as equipment in that deck or just majestics or rares they can use for future necromancers, because I think we're definitely going to get a shadow necromancer at some point, like going back to the third conflict for the monarch conflict. I think we're going to have a shadow necromancer, and that'll be interesting since the shadow wants to have cards in the banish zone. So, and you're dealing with the graveyard, so it'll be interesting to see how they build that out and how they balance that. But yeah,
I
that deck is going to be really popular.
I'm curious, looking at some of the generics that we've seen, the Flying High as an example in the new set. I'm hoping again it show there's so many pirates are notorious for guns and cutlasses, and it's just
Yep.
like I really hope we get some sort of flintlock pistol or some sort of saber or cutlass or something, because like it's just on trope, and if they don't do it here, they're probably never going to do it. Um, but because there's generics, again, that gets me back into the thought process of maybe Sync Below would be something they could print. Now, would they print all three, or would they just print red? Would they just, like that? That's another question, right? What Sync Below is the one that people find hard to get? Is it red? That's what everybody wants. So maybe they don't take
Yep.
all three up. Maybe they only reprint just the red.
Yeah, I think
I don't know.
that's more than fine, right? Just
Maybe they
less
skip it altogether.
less draft.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I'd like to see it. I'd like to see it in a new pirate art too. I think that's something they could do for future sets. Like for Sink Below, or we got Command and Conquer, another Command and Conquer reprint with new art for the Hunted, and I was talking about Blade Runner having like a new, like may have Kasai in the artwork of Blade Runner. But yeah, they could definitely theme cards like that, especially the generics, for basically based on what set that they're in, and I think that's really neat.
So what about the three choices of classes in High Seas? What do you think of that? Like, I, I am excited that we get Mechanologist back. I didn't expect we would get a brand new class, and Ranger being the third one, I just kind of
Yeah,
curious.
I really like the choice. I like the choices for all three. When I was kind of speculating on what they would be, I was like, there's got to be a necromancer in the set. It's going to be a ghost ship. They're going to try to be either fighting the necromancer on the ghost ship, or they're like, maybe Cavdan was involved and he's like smuggling bodies over for the necromancer or something, or and then you've got a mechanologist and the ranger. Like a ranger definitely fits really well in with the pirate theme, and so does mechanologist with the air. Like the airships are so cool, but you could easily see like you could have had a pirate brute, you could have had a pirate warrior. Like there's a lot of different ways that they could go with that and make it look just really flavorful and on theme for the set. But I think it was odd to me that pirate was a class. They said as a class instead of a talent. So maybe and that kind of is just like, maybe I don't know why they would thought process behind that, why they did it that way, because then you could just for me I think you could easily just call it a talent too, but maybe there's a reason why that they chose to make it a class instead of a talent. But I was wondering your thoughts on that.
Well, the I think that's something I'd mentioned when we were sitting out there too. But the thought process in my head is Assassin came out fairly low power level in regards to quantity of
Yeah,
card choices, and maybe by splitting the pirate into a class and using it across all three, combining with an existing class means that they can release it at a little bit of a lower rate, or a lower card pool, and then in the long term let that flesh out. And then maybe 1 to 2 sets later, at some point in the future, they can break pirate off into its own individual class, where it can stand on its own and have its own uniqueness, which may be where we see a little bit more difference between it, but then still allow the flexibility to have both classes function. That was a thought I had.
yeah. And since pirate's its own class, like maybe we get a talented pirate, like maybe we get a lightning pirate, and they're like up on the, like commanding the storm or something like that, or we got, they could venture into all kinds of different. Maybe we get a new element for like water. Like maybe we get like a water element, and you have like a water theme, as a different element or something, or wind pirate or something. So who knows? Who knows what like? But I think it's great because it does leave more options open for them.
Sorry, I was just looking up a thing. I don't think it's yeah, it may be. Yeah, no, I don't want. That's still not pub. I don't think it's public. I don't even think it's real. So I'm going to avoid talking about that, and I'll chat with you later about what I. There was some stuff going around at one point that I don't think is. If it is real, it was a huge leak, and it was something that probably shouldn't have been leaked. So, so looking at other things that these classes do, it looks like gold's going to be a pretty big theme. Um, what's
Yeah,
your thought on leveraging gold as a mechanic, as in leaning into that gold?
yeah. Well, I can see why now they decided to ban cash in. So that was probably a good choice for them back then. So yeah, for gold, just like I would like to see some just like more generic gold support, because you could also like kind of beef up other characters like Victor and Betsy, and for me Kasai. Like I would love to see more gold support for Kasai. So maybe they kind of get some kind of some extra side support there. But yeah, gold as a mechanic, that's like it's right on theme of pirate. I love that. uh, just being able to like break those golds, especially like I think Gravy Bones, being able to use a lot of the. I think he's going to definitely be a very blue centric and heavy deck. So being able to break those golds and having that extra resources and get drawing a card off those, that's going to be very strong. Marlin, uh, she's probably one of my like sleeper, like low key favorite heroes that's going to be in this set. Because I play Azalea and Ranger, so what you were talking about, like with you know going into a match and not knowing what weapons your opponent's going to play, I think that you can probably build Marlin in a couple different ways depending on what gets printed in the set. Like her ability to just like basically like whenever you draw a card, you get to load an arrow basically in your arsenal. Like that's pretty crazy. Like being able to like do that off of a gold, like just cracking a gold, drawing a card, putting an arrow into arsenal. Um, she has access to Death Dealer for right now, so you can Death Dealer with her and draw a card and then load an arrow into arsenal all at the same time with her ability. And then you've got three of a kind, so you can draw three cards, load in two arrows if you've got, and it's face up. So if you're running New Horizon, you can load in two arrows and shoot two as long as you got go again. The problem will be if she's got ready access to go again, or the build that she has can um, allow her to shoot two arrows at a time. But the
Sure.
other bow, what's I'm saying, like we're coming back around to just like not knowing what your opponent's playing or their strategy is. She could, with her other bow cannon that she has, where you pay four and you're going to give your harpoon basically +4 and overpower. You can either have a deck of harpoons and you're shooting your opponent for 10 overpower with your harpoon attacks, or I could see her with like a death dealer build where she's playing New Horizon and trying to go wide too. So I think she could either have this like really crazy go tall build or a go wide build.
Yeah. Sorry, I was just checking on the wife because I know we talked about that earlier. Type 1 diabetes is a heck of a
Yeah,
thing, folks. Just FYI. So, hey, she's going
yeah,
down. Perfect. Ah, man, that was a rough one there. Um, speaking of rough one, that was not a lead into a bad bedroom joke. You know, High Seas is introducing a mechanic that is actually not a new mechanic to any TCG, but it is the tap symbol, confirmed by James White at the keynote. I want to get your thoughts on it. Really, I wonder post this set. Well, once the set is set in stone and it's in production and it's in our hands, will the game of Flesh and Blood forever be changed? Introducing the tap symbol with the following, I guess, preface to letting you answer the question, having the floor after this. By adding tap, will this, if they start adding tap to a lot more cards, will it make other older cards less desirable depending on their ability if tap is a multimodal card or they start bolting it onto other cards? With that as just kind of the lead in, what's your thought on how tap might change the game of Flesh and Blood?
yeah. I think it depends on the way that they're trying to use it. Are they just using the tap symbol to represent like your once per turn action tap, like just to show that you've used it and exhausted it? Because a lot of us like like we're playing heroes like where you can only use it once per turn, right? Like Katsu or Azalea. You could easily just like throw a tap symbol on there and just say like tap, and that would be your placeholder text for your once per turn action tapper. Do your dominate thing. So maybe it's just kind of a way to kind of clean that up, or like just kind of condense down the text on the card into that symbol. But that also kind of like kind of leaves open this new possibility for things like, are there going to be cards that let you untap things? Like so if that's the thing where if you've got a maybe an item that you've tapped that turn to activate its ability, maybe you've got another item on board, like I'm kind of thinking like Icy Manipulator, where you get to untap another card so you could reuse it again.
And
That's
that gets
that I
into
think that
chaining
opens up a
effects and stuff, like
whole
where you could chain things together.
yeah. Yeah, and then maybe that opens up room for like loops of different things too. So So that might be some kind of like maybe dicey kind of territory, but
Dicey
uh,
territory.
for combos and things like that. Yeah, just for like combo wise, I think they're gonna have to be careful about that. So and but who kind of I think we'll definitely get a feel for what they're kind of envisioning for it with this set. But yeah, I think that leaves open this like way new design space that they're trying to explore.
Sweet. Well, I think I'm gonna actually get up for just a second. I'm gonna if you want to randomly spew your brain on some stuff, I'm going to get the overhead camera and the light turned on, and I'm gonna at least go on so you can see what I'm about to show, and we can open a couple of packs while we talk about some other fun things here as we kind of wrap down this video. But I gotta at least turn the lights on because it was gonna heat the room up if I wasn't actually putting the light on me. So I'll leave the floor to you for a couple seconds while I get that set up.
Okay. Yeah, I'm just thinking like high seas. I think it's just gonna be just an incredible set all around. I think it's gonna get some more new players into this game. Gravy Bones coming out as the first necromancer that we're seeing. I really love the artwork of that card. I hope there's a lot of just base necromancer support to start really building on to that base talent or that base class. So when we have future necromancers in the future, they can just kind of keep building on that base of cards. I could definitely see like a necromancer coming out of a shadow necromancer, coming out of the next monarch set. I could see a necro coming out of the savage lands of like maybe there's like a necromancer that's trying to like raise up these beasts out of the savage lands and maybe the birds of that set go into conflict with the that necromancer. So I think there's a lot of really cool direction they can go with that class. I really like the watery grave mechanic is going to be interesting to see how that works out. Um, I think a lot of people are saying that necromancer is going to be kind of this kind of illusionist 2.0, which I don't think they're going to be wrong. I think necromancer is going to be a board state class. So just being able to get those allies on board, set up a board state, attack with your with your allies, and try to gain incremental value over the game. I think that's going to be the play style of the class. Just having another like ally based class in the game. So there's going to be a lot of I'm sure lots of sideboard tech coming out for ways to get rid of cards out of the graveyard or banish them, and gravekeeping. It looks like they've got that new gravekeeping artwork that was at the new tournament.
Oh
That's
yeah,
going to be a
100%.
card that going to be a strong card going forward, I think too.
So something interesting is there's sip sip starts in play, stays in play. Now I wonder if there needs to be a card that's like draw the card during the gameplay, stays in play. Like I don't know what that acronym would be, but like dip sip or like draw DTC, draw the card, stay in play. DTC SIP. I don't know. Just something funny for those kind of cards. Because I mean, even Teklovas's equipment's kind of the same way. You draw it in your deck and you play it, but like the allies are you draw it and then you play it. Dromai's dragons are draw it and play it, but they stay in play. Mech items
Yep,
draw and stay. So
they
I
stay.
don't know. Well, as you can see on the camera here, I got a couple of fun goodies. You'd mentioned you like Outsiders,
Ooh.
so
Oh
um,
yeah, Outsiders is by far one of my favorites.
well, I got two outsiders, and I got something interesting, which is the precursor to what we get to see in about a month. So this is the closest I got to it, which is Lorcana's Pirate Set, which we can do some stark compare and contrast if we want. But which one do you want me to open first? We got what is this? Oh my gosh, why am I? It's
Riptide.
Azuri and Riptide. So which stack do you think would be
Yeah,
more interesting to start with?
go for that Azuri and that Stitch. That Stitch looks real menacing below that Azuri right there. Look at that. Look at that
Got it.
face.
So which one do you want to start with? Do you want to start with the Lorcana or do you want to start with the Outsiders?
Oh, let's go with Stitch there and see what we get out of that one.
Full disclosure, I have absolutely no idea whatsoever what is in this entire quote unquote pirate themed Lorcana set. So this is a true surprise to me. Oh, and look, within the stitch we actually get a an opposite pack.
Look at
So
that. You got Baymax. You got
you get
Baymax on the front.
12
You got a little
random
pool floaty.
cards. Oh yeah, so he's let's see here in their version of this looks like 60 card decks needed to play. They have non-eco-friendly booster pack wrappers instead of the Fantastico um, paper wrappers, which Fab is really cherished and embraced. Now it looks like we get yeah, I remember the Lorcana cards have like there's like a kind of puzzle piece thingy at the back, so
Oh,
that's
yeah.
that's Fab's doing that now
That's
for
fun.
the gym packs. So kind of curious how that'll work. I don't know what the
I
pack order is, so
love
we're just going to start
Baymax.
here. We got a boo, a poo, a poo,
Is that a
a boo.
Ragavan? Maybe it's Ragavan,
No,
the pirate monkey.
that could be. We Az put something out just a little bit ago. His card had a monkey on it, so I'm curious what that'll be. I don't know if you saw that spoiler thing. He put his spoiler video like on a 28-day pre-wait or whatever. So that'd be kind of
Oh
exciting.
wow.
Yeah, I saw there was like a little monkey on it. We got Chief Bogo. Buy one, get one free, I guess, maybe. I don't know. There's dramatically less piratey things. I mean, I guess that's in the ship, right? I don't know what he's doing here, but the carpenter. This is a poo, but thievery. Abu P. And a very sour person. It's piratey. There's a shipwreck in the background. Okay.
Yeah,
Sure.
there's a ship in the background.
What about this? This Kakakamora, long
Yep,
range
that's very
specialist.
piratey.
He's a pirate. He actually says pirate. Did any of these say pirate? That said action, storyborn. Oh, we at least got a pirate. So can I play this in Gravy Bones? Probably not. Judge,
I'd allow it.
Judge. We got a hero. Wasabi.
Oh yeah, he's from BK6 too.
Yeah, he is. He's cutting a chain, and there's pirate stuff in the background. I'm really trying to look for the pirate theme, and I see there's pirate stuff in the background. We got a Diablo bird, which don't know what that's from. Maleficent. Well, maybe. I don't know. It may not be. It might be.
Yep.
We got John Darling.
Yep.
That has to be I'm assuming Peter Pan.
Yep, that's Peter Pan.
Sorry. Ooh. He made me sneeze. We got Goofy, who is doing something goofy. Hold on to your
goof.
hat.
I like that.
He's the goof. And we got, I guess it's a super rare. That's what that symbol, I think, means.
Yeah.
And it is Sisu, the unsomething dragon. But I don't really see any relation to pirate in this.
I don't either, but that's a good. I like the artwork.
We got a Dale. I do like the foiling in the cards.
Dale.
It's very, very vibrant. He's a chip partner. Get it, Chip and Dale? I guess. Well, I at least remember that part. All right. Let's see. What's Fab so what would a card be that you want to see from Outsiders? Because these are getting older now. It's harder to find these packs.
I'd freak out if you pulled a Marvel Codex of Frailty in there.
Ooh, that'd be a heck of a hit. Peace of Mind. I mean, looking back now, right? Like this is 2022. Just I'm glad like these are generics, right? So like in a way I'm thinking like could they do the pack for High Seas similar to this, because again you have Assassin, you got Ranger, you got Ninja, then you're back to in this case Ranger, Assassin, Ninja. You'll notice there's a theme, and then I think you got some split cards. This is the rare Death Touch. I did like this card quite a bit. Then we got because if I remember right, that slot there it's like it can be any rare. I think there's a couple rarities that can be in there. Pendulum Trap
Oh yeah,
with
pendulum trap.
fence reaction. Ooh, we got an Infecto. That looks like a
Yeah, foily
Busto.
infect.
We got a Busto Paco. It was. Oh, did I only get one rare in that whole pack? Seriously?
No, you got two.
What?
You got two.
No, I only
You
got
got
one.
the pendulum trap
Oh,
and the
and
death
death.
touch.
Okay. Okay.
Why was the inertia trap in between them?
I don't know.
That was really weird.
I think they
Why?
were supposed to be like an
It's just a
assassin
common,
slot
right?
or something.
Oh, okay.
It's been a while since I opened those, man. It really has.
Yeah,
You
that
kind
was
of
such a
forget.
fun set to draft.
Oh gosh, what did we get? Did we get a? This is another Baymax pack. What the heck? Where's my Stitch, baby? I mean the vibing of the, oh my god, these packs are so hard to open. The vibing of the pirate piece doesn't seem very strong with the Lorcana piece, but it seems reasonably strong with the flesh and blood piece. Now I'm assuming from the back, if I do this, see, I already bent the card. Look at that. Dang. Oh, look, is that another corner? Do I have two pieces that are close? No, maybe.
Oh, no.
It's like a, maybe be like a giant.
The far left or right.
Maybe, yeah.
Got one in the middle there. Yep.
I didn't open enough of any of these, obviously, to know a darn thing about it. But now I want to go look up the photo and see what it is. We got Michael Darling. It's a hoist the colors and for a teddy bear. That's pirate themed. I'll give it that. That's pirate
Yeah.
themed. I don't know what's happening in the background. Let's
Oh,
get
that's
out of here.
fun.
See, I
Yeah,
told
that's
you it was
good.
dangerous here.
I like that.
I love how they at least put flavor text on most of the cards. I do think that is one thing kind of, oh, that's interesting, sight, missing from Fab sometimes, is I do really wish there was flavor text on it, but I kind of get the why. It's not possible on every card, but
Hmm.
I do miss me some flavor text. You think you can get rid of me that easily? No. I'm still here. See, I'm still here. I don't know what's happening on that card. It's a song. They're singing. Gadget.
Yeah.
Hatch wreck. Okay, that's like a map. That is a long
Okay.
ass block of text. Does nothing other than just give you a piece of lore, which I guess is cool. Basil.
Oh, Basil. Yeah, a great mouse detective.
Hero Hamada, which that would be again Big Hero 6.
Yep.
Right? Yep, I think so.
Yep.
Scrump. I don't know what it is, but it's hilarious. I made her. Her head's too big, so I pretend a bug laid eggs in her head. Lilo.
Yeah, that must be her little doll in the show.
Judy Hopps. There's a bunny. I can see a theme here.
Oh, I like that. I like the ship. Yeah, there's like a treasure planet kind of theme going on with the little airship
Need
thing.
some help at the end of your turn. You may ready another chosen character of yours. So that's kind of neat that they put some supporting text on there to kind of help educate what the card does. I'm not opposed to that. I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Ooh, windy. Yar.
Oh, I like that artwork. That's great. I like that they
very
really
piratey.
leaned into art.
Super piratey. And I think we only got one
I like
card
that
left.
a lot, Lorcana.
Oh, we got a foil of the common
Kakamora.
Kakamora. Yar. And then more of
I like
this.
that about Lorcana. It leaves it. They left it really wide open to where they can just, create this universe that they can always just expand upon.
Free-reeling renegades. And I hope that that's something Fab is leaning into, with the ability to put different areas. Like, again, that 9th region, we don't know what it is yet. But, like,
yeah,
I love this card for the fact that I still want to know who this person is back here. I mean, it says Lena Bell.
It looks
so I'm
very
assuming that's
piratey.
Lena Bell. That's Lena Bell? I thought we were going to get a Lena Bell.
Yeah, Lena, she's an alchemist. She was the alchemist we were supposed to get.
Well, the alchemist has 2 swords, so give me my alchemist, please.
Yeah.
Also, this is cute. I want that guy. I think he'd be fun if he's spring loading a trap. Like, Also, like, I think that is him. I think that is that guy. Maybe not.
Oh, that's kind of, yeah, I could see
Safari
that.
Sajurai, the Oracle. This will blow your
Yeah.
mind. Again, flavor text, right? Look at that. We got flavor text. We got no flavor text. We got flavor text. I'm all for it. No flavor text. It's okay.
Yeah.
This guy's getting,
Where's all the flavor?
he's getting beheaded. We don't have, we got to cut
Yeah.
it down. Ooh, infecting shot.
I love that.
Malagan. Malagin? Malugun. Malululu. Dr. Mortimer. Don't worry, you won't feel a thing because
Yeah.
you're
Doctor.
dead.
I think Dr. Mortimer could be maybe a possible necromancer in the future.
That's a good one. Falcon Punch. Oh my. How the mighty have fallen.
Hey, red gust wave is still very much used. Katsu loves the red descendant gust wave.
Stealth. Simple,
Stealth.
clean.
Love stealth.
More death touch. That's odd. 2 random packs.
That's very odd.
Both having death touch. Down and dirty.
Ooh.
It's at least a majestic. I mean, not the one I wanted, but I mean, it does have flavor text, which is flavorful for the fact that it has flavor text. So I'm not going to be mad at that.
It is a generic, and it is a popper that you can use in any deck.
And it can defend in your arsenal, so take it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you can defend against a phantasm attack out of arsenal.
We got Lace with Frailty.
Ooh, Lace with Frailty.
And then we got the tokens and whatnots. But yeah, the red Lace with Frailty is nice.
Yeah, that's nice. I love all those. I've got sets of the promos for all of those, and those were really nice Armory promos at the time. Lace with Blood Rot, Lace with Inertia, Frailty.
They released something, I thought, that was like a I'm trying to remember the term for it, but it was a redo of the traps that had errata.
Yeah, they put out like a little special pack when Outsiders came out, and it was like an errata set of like Rockside Trap, Tripwire Trap, and I can't remember the other one. But yeah, those were strange traps because of the way that they function. So yeah, they just kind of like cleaned those up a bit.
Well, I think that's about everything I got. Anything you want to add to it, or I mean, I think that was just kind of a fun kind of little bit of everything conversation. So
yeah, no, that was a lot of fun, and I'm really excited for like Fab this year and Gen Con especially coming up. We have to talk about Con and the Guardian Mastery set at some point, and what's that new PvE product?
Smash Palace.
That's coming out. Smash Palace.
Well, I don't know if it's considered PvE, but I think it would be more UPF is kind of what they're branding it as.
UPF. Yeah, UPF.
I think
for sure.
PvE might have been officially tabled because it sounded like in one of the last conversations that James White was on with Flukenbox that I think it sounded close to hey, we're it didn't sound like it was in the current set of upcoming product list. Let's just say that it didn't sound like it was very very upcoming. But like new player, if you go to the website and look at products, have you been to this URL here? I'll send you one here in just a second. That on it, if you scroll down to where it says new player, they now have the Ira deck, they have the Welcome Deck Bravo, First Strike, Dory vs. Rhinar, Classic Battles. They have Mastery Pack Guardian, Smash Palace, and the ones I want to click on are grayed out because they're not available to click just yet. But
yeah, I'm excited for the product lineup this year. I'm really excited for myself. I'm excited for the Armory deck Ira. I hope that she gets some really nice new cards. I really would like to see her get more like cards in the deck versus equipment. I think her equipment set's probably fine. I'm always welcome to get like new ninja stuff, but yeah, I think she could use a couple of, like more cards to go along with like that vengeance theme. It looked like the card was mentioning cards that had vengeance in the name. So it'd be interesting to see what comes out of that armory deck. I'm real excited for it. I think Ninja could use probably another. I would like to see her maybe get like another weapon of some kind. So maybe she's got a weapon with vengeance in its name or something.
They could definitely go pretty flavorful if they wanted to, I'm sure.
Yeah, but yeah, we'll have to
Well,
do another like sit down and talk about like Gen Con and Smash Palace and Matt Guardian set mastery at another time.
absolutely. And I know I think in that same circle of folks we were talking with, the one gentleman that drives all the way from Kentucky. Oh my gosh, he's
Yeah,
a champion, man. Like,
dedicated. Yeah,
yeah, I'd love to even get him, you, me, and I think Matt on, even with Alex, and just have like a just kind of a general just state of the union of things. Like it's nice to get so many different opinions on stuff. Like just to kind of see how people enjoy different interactions of stuff and kind of you know I just like you said, I'm excited for some of the upcoming products. I'm real curious to see how Gen Con turns out.
yeah,
Super
yeah. I'm
curious.
really excited for Gen Con this year. They've got those like Armory deck like Viscerai and Prism too. So those seem like they're going to be like convention exclusives, and like who knows? If, like I'm sure those are going to have like new exclusive cards in them that you can only get in those decks. I'm sure it's not just all reprints. So it'd be interesting to see those when they come out.
That is a true statement too. Like I I don't think the full sets have been spoiled of those, and there could be something else that nobody has really thought of, right? And they talked about the Guardian Pack Mastery, but in Smash Palace, because it uses the cards in Guardian Pack Mastery, we assume most of it's going to be Guardian, but there could also be again generics or some other things that might be useful, which
Yeah,
means they could throw reprints into that I'm not sure about. So I'm kind of curious.
yeah. I'm curious too what kind of like generic support and generic reprints we'll get too. Like if we get any unmovables, sink belows, fate for scenes, or if there's anything like that, like people might want for to go up against guardians or play against guardians. So yeah, it'd be I'm excited about it, and I know I probably myself won't be getting any of those guardian products because I don't own any guardian decks, but I know that there's a lot of people in the shop that are really excited about it.
Yeah, yeah, I would agree. And I think if I can manage to figure it out, I'll probably get at least one of the Smash Palaces to bring back so that we can just kind of jam some games. I'd mentioned in one of the other earlier podcasts it would be maybe hard to find some folks who would play that, but I think I was able to get our group to at least say, hey, we're interested in
Oh
it.
yeah,
But
we
outside of that group,
yeah we don't.
it's real hard to even on the indie Discord ask. It's not something that a lot of people seem to be super curious about. So
Yeah, we're all down to play. Like if it's we all loved heavy hitters, and that was like a UPF designed design set, so you could sit down and it was designed for UPF. Like all the generic equipments, like got that +1 buff if the more players that were in the game. So yeah, we're all down to play some UPF. So that's we'll have to do that.
I concur. Well, I think that's gonna wrap it up for this episode. So thanks for hanging out and talking. I think it's been a blast. So
Yeah, super fun. Like happy to come on whenever you want, or and just talk about Fab and how the game is, or we could talk about lore or new deck ideas or anything really. Like I'm always down to chat Fab.
absolutely. So Well, again, I very much, like I said, appreciate you chatting, and I think that it'll be fun to see you next week at the Armory, and yeah, you just let me know if you want to do this again. I mean, I'm all for it. I'm sure even Alex will enjoy getting to talk with you. It sounds like
Yeah,
everybody has a blast. So
yeah, absolutely. So yeah, I look forward to it. So yeah, let me know when you want to do another, and we'll get on.
rock on. So. All right. Well, until next time, may your games be fun and your friendships grow, folks. And you know where that bell button is. Do all those things. Hopefully, if you can, that'll grow the channel. I'd like to hit 1,000 subs one day. I don't know. Maybe, maybe not. We'll figure it out. But that's not the main point. But still, that is a useful metric to help me gauge interest. So, so
Yes.
all right.
Oh, thanks,
Bye.
Jacob. Yeah, we'll see you.